And a steak. You talked a lot on Tuesday night about trying to get things right in practice. Was today been like? I'm assuming you guys are off this room.
Yeah, no, today was highly competitive. And, like you brought up the question the other night, and it's true, it's the consistency thing, right? Like you want to play with tremendous consistency. And what we've seen from our team is, last week alone was two totally different performances in the Oklahoma State and Arizona game. And then within the realm of the BYU game, there was inconsistency within the realm of that game, right? There was a stretch in the last 6-7 minutes of the half and the first 6-7 minutes of the second half where we were at an extreme deficit. And for the other 37 minutes of the game, we were in great shape. So ultimately it comes down to, the things that you do in practice are going to show up in the game. And for us right now, some of the areas that have become challenges, like our toughness with the basketball, some of the games that's led to turnovers, some of the games that's led us to not getting shots at the rim, at the foul line, and getting rhythm threes, like what happened last game. It wasn't as much of turnovers, it was we didn't get great possessions. Then it comes down to, the transition defense piece was an issue because of our offensive disappointment. We were stopping them, we were turning them over, and we weren't scoring. And so then I think some of that disappointment led to the transition defense not being as great. And then, you get down the stretch, the last 4 or 5 minutes of regulation and overtimes, it's finishing plays on the glass. Even if we play Joshua at the 5, it's still an opportunity at that point in the game. You really want to win, you find a way to rebound down. You find a way to come up with those basketballs. And so I think all those things, when they show up for us in practice and we do those well, it'll carry forward to the game. We had a great intent going into Arizona. We shouldn't be at a place as a program where we need wake-up calls or understanding of, how hard the other teams are going to play or, what great players they have. It's a standard of embracing practice and getting better even when it's March.
I think whenever you guys, I think this is probably universal, have had problems or issues in February, people will go, oh, they play too hard, they practice too hard, can't sustain it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, again, Exhibit A for a team that does that is Houston, right? And so, they're 18-1 in league play. I would guess that what they do in practice from a physical and toughness standpoint is as strong as anybody. And so they've done that the last 2 years, and they've been at the top of the league. So my belief will always be that that is the standard. Right now, they are the standard in the league. That is a model of how we want to practice, how we want to compete, how we want to fight every single day in practice. And so ultimately, it really comes down to your mental toughness and your competitive endurance to be able to do that every single day. But when you do it, the consistency part comes for you. And like I said, we're getting back to the consistency you asked about the other day. And if you do everything one way, you'll play that way. If you need off days of practice and rest days and those things, then you'll play that way too. And I just think teams either get better or you don't at this time of the year. And if you want to get better, you've got to practice. You've got to practice hard. Use the other hours in your day to make sure you're crushing it in the training room and do what you need to do for your body to feel well. So load management, to me, that's for if you get to that next level, not for college. College is for practice hard, develop habits, competitive endurance, mental toughness, perform to the level of your practice habits, and that's what we're fighting for right now.
Is there a difference too between practicing hard and intensely and beating the hell out of each other, which you can imagine is not always your guys' practice?
Yeah, look, I think we turned a very good offensive team over 29 times the other night by being really into the basketball and pressuring the ball. So did we beat the hell out of them guarding the basketball? Maybe. How about on the glass? No, right? So to me, it's just across the board, you want that consistency. The areas where, guarding the basketball and rebounding the basketball, and then on the other end, toughness with the basketball and getting offensive rebounds, that's the possession game you're trying to win, right? And if you get a lot more possessions than your opponent, you can endure not great shooting nights, not great offensive nights, and still win. So we need to practice in such a way that allows us to be very physical guarding the ball, be very physical on the glass, be very physical, tough with the ball, be very physical on the offensive glass. Whatever that's called or whatever it means, I don't know. It's just that's what it takes if you want to win.
You've mentioned a couple times this season feeling like offensive struggles have taken away from your defensive intent. What do you think is contributing to that for your players so far?
Well, I think for guys, you score a certain amount of points, or you play to a certain level, or you've had things go well offensively for you, and then you feel like, man, I want to keep averaging that many points, getting those shots, or playing that way, or having that assist to turnover ratio, or whatever it is, and then you get distracted from how you built to that point, which is guard the basketball, be tough, get in transition, get easy baskets, get offensive rebounds. And so I think at times we get distracted from what the main thing is. I mean, for 37 minutes of the BYU game, we generated 28 of the turnovers, right? Which, when we got the turnovers, for the most part, we scored the ball, and we were at a margin. For the 13 minutes we didn't turn them over, we had one turnover in the 13 minutes, end of half, start of the second half, and then our offense wasn't good. So it's more of an order of operations thing in our program. Like, if you're really tough on the ball, guard the basketball, turn them over, rebound the basketball, and go in transition, it's been proven that our offense will be great. Don't do those things. You're playing against a set defense every time. You're allowing the other team to dictate those. Now you leave a lot to chance.
What have you seen from K-State? They've had kind of one of the crazier Big 12 seasons than I can remember recently.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they just dealt with an injury with Hawkins being out for the 3 games. He returned yesterday for, their game at Cincinnati. When they play well, he plays well. And so if you look at their games where they've been successful in league play, he's been available and he's performed well, and the other guys play off of him. When they were here, he got them going. He drove the ball right to the rim. He hit a shot early. He kind of dictated everything, and then the confidence came for their other guys as well, and they've got other good players. So ultimately, the teams that played him 2 weeks ago played without him, and so they weren't the same team. Now he's back, and he's their catalyst. And again, I really respect David Gasson. He's a tremendous offensive rebounder, maybe as good as there is in the league. He plays a tremendous effort. McDaniel last time was a load for us to guard on the perimeter. He had one of his 3 20-point games and just got the space and made shots. And with Hausen, we didn't do a very good job either. I mean, he was extremely efficient. So they're a good team, even though, whatever their record says, when they're at full strength and Hawkins is playing well, they're a really good team. And then when they've done that, they've won.
With only such a guaranteed number of weeks left of basketball, do you feel like your team has kind of rediscovered in a way how important it is to kind of treat practice time as gold?
Yeah, I mean, that will show up for us. I mean, that's a everyday, one day at a time situation, right? So like, today was great, tomorrow needs to be great. If today's great, tomorrow's great, that'll probably lead to a positive outcome or give us a great chance to be successful on Saturday. You don't just have a great practice because you speak it into existence. You've got to have a toughness, a physicality. You got to want to be out there, and I feel like for guys, whether you're a 4th-year senior, 5th-year senior, 4th-year junior, 6th-year senior, it's got to be so important. You got to be like, man, I get this opportunity to practice. Gold is what you used, right? Like, this is gold. Like, this is gold. And if I really want to win and I'm really competitive, that's the time to show it, not when you get down by 21, right? Like, getting down by 21 and then having the narrative be you ran out of gas, to me, that's non-competitive. Competitive is do it in practice nonstop and demand that there's only one way that we do everything. And so that practice time truly is gold, especially in March.
TJ, one thing that struck me in recent weeks, a couple of weeks, I think you first brought up that, if there's an offensive struggle, sometimes you see the effective defense. I think probably more pronounced in the BYU game, as you mentioned after the game, than it has been. Is part of that a function of you have a bunch of guys who have proven they can drop 30 on a given night, whereas in year one, guys didn't have that to fall back on. The Brockington filled it up at times, but nobody else on that roster really had, so there wasn't that, deflation. They walk right back in because Taman had to, he's a freshman and all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if you look at over 4 years, we certainly have more offensive firepower, capability, balance, multiple guys that can have a big game offensively. Yet, I've coached in this league long enough to know how physical it is. As the league wears on, it gets harder and harder to like run clean offense or to get great offensive possessions. I think Arizona's a great offensive team. They struggled in here. BYU's a great offensive team. They struggled in here. And so my point of it is that it's really order of operations.